Hey everyone, it's Miss Holton again. I hope you're still staying clean and healthy and washing those hands every day. I hope you're finding some good books to read and some good things to write about. I hope last week you liked our story, Spring is Here. It was really fun to read some of your responses and some of the connections that some of you had made to the story and to the characters in the book. This week, or today, I want to introduce to you the story called Mossy. And that's right, it's by Jan Brett. And you know I love Jan Brett stories. So this is one of her spring stories. I know we've read some of her winter stories like The Mitten and The Hat. But since spring has started now, I wanted to introduce you to this story. And the title is Mossy. And there's a turtle right here on the front. And if you look at the turtle, you can see there's a lot of flowers growing on a turtle, which isn't very normal, I don't think. So before I go on, I want you just to take a moment. You can press pause and make a prediction as to what do you think the story is about? Who do you think the characters are? What do you think the problem will be? What do you think the solution will be? Okay? All right. Here we go. On a misty, moisty morning, a young turtle stood at the edge of a lily pad pond, and her name was Mossy. Mossy liked this damp, cool place, and she spent so much time here that curlicues of moss began to grow on her carapace until her shell was covered with them. So you can see it starts off just a little bit and then more. And then here she's covered in moss and different bushes. As the spring days got warmer, tiny ferns unfurled and wildflowers began to blossom. And soon Mossy's shell was home to an amazing garden. Mossy liked to look at her own reflection in the lily pad pond and see what was growing in her garden. Every day brought a surprise, a new flower, or perhaps a delicious wild strawberry. Mossy's garden was growing wider and taller. Now, if you look in the margins, you might see a character, or maybe over on this side. One day, Mossy was standing by the lily pad pond when the water began to ripple, and two ruby red eyes looked up at her. It was a handsome turtle she hadn't seen before. See the ruby red eyes? Scoot had never seen a lady turtle like Mossy. He thought her garden was pretty, but it was Mossy who made his heart beat fast. She was breathtaking. Now take a moment and press pause and make a prediction of what you think might happen. Now Scoot scrambled up the bank and walked towards Mossy. Entranced by those ruby eyes, Mossy made her way into the open glade towards Scoot. But just then, Dr. Carolina, on her morning walk with her niece Tori, spotted Mossy, and gently Dr. Carolina picked her up. She is perfect for the museum. Now I want you to press pause and think, would you take Mossy to the museum? Don't forget to look at the pictures in the margin. Never had Dr. Carolina's museum had a wonder as extraordinary as a garden-growing turtle. She and Tori made a home for Mossy in a viewing pavilion with plants, a reflecting pool, and everything they thought a turtle would need. That sounds amazing. I would love to live in that little area. But Mossy had everything she needed back at the lily pad pond, and she longed to see to find her new friend. Every day, Scoot waited for Mossy, but Mossy didn't come back. He's waiting for her. I wonder how Scoot feels right now. I wonder how Mossy feels right now. Now all summer, because remember, this started in the springtime, so now we're into summer. We're in a whole different season. All summer, visitors came to see Mossy and her famous garden. They watched her eat raspberries and mealy worms, mushrooms and lettuce. But Mossy didn't seem happy to Tori, and Dr. Carolina was too busy to notice. Mossy was lonely for Scoot. She had stopped looking at her garden in the reflecting pool because it made her remember those ruby red eyes shining like jewels, peering at her from the lily pad pond. Thoughts of Scoot only made her sad. Now, snow was falling outside. So if snow is falling outside, we can infer that it's probably what season? That's right, it's probably winter. Snow fell outside, but inside the museum, Mossy's garden kept growing and people flocked to see her. Dr. Carolina was thrilled that Mossy had made her museum famous. And today, Tori and her class had come to see Mossy. The meteorites and the geodes amazed the children, and they loved the woodland diorama, the butterflies and the shells. But finally, Dr. Carolina said it was time to see a special exhibit. What do you think that special exhibit might be? The children gathered around the viewing pavilion. At first, they didn't see Mossy, and then she started to walk, and her magnificent garden swaying back and forth, and the little turtle captivated the children. That means that the turtle really got their attention. Mossy is a special turtle, Dr. Carolina told them. Her garden grows and changes all year. She is never hungry or cold. She is safe living in the museum. Here with us, Mossy could live to be 100 years old. Tori frowned. She loved the museum. She had helped her aunt collect wonderful things on their walks, but Mossy was the first living creature that they had collected. And Dr. Carolina had taken to live in the museum. Is that why she looks so sad? Tori wondered. Do you think Mossy is happy here? Tori asked her aunt. Does she have any turtle friends? The children asked. No, but here we all have the opportunity to see her. Dr. Carolina paused, and the children had given her an idea. On the first day of spring, so we went from spring to fall to winter, and now we're back in spring, so it's been a whole year. On the first day of spring, a sign on the front door of the museum read, "Closed. Do not disturb." Two women arrived at the back of the museum, and Dr. Carolina and Tori were there to meet them. Everyone wondered what did this mean? 1 day passed, 2 days passed, and then 3 days passed. But after a week, everyone was invited inside. I want you to think about, what do you think they're going to see when they go inside? press pause and talk about it. And when you're ready, press play. Dr. Carolina introduced the two mystery women. Please meet Flora and Fauna, she said. The curtain was pulled aside, revealing a portrait of Mossy, larger than life, with her garden painted in glowing detail. So a portrait is like a giant painting. Flora had painted all the plants, and Fauna had painted Mossy, and together the artist had captured a moment in time that would never fade, and everyone cheered and clapped. Now don't forget to look at the pictures in the margin. At dusk, Dr. Carolina gently put Mossy in a collection basket. Come with me, she said to Tori, and off they went to take Mossy to the lily pad pond. I wonder who's waiting for her. And together they said goodbye to their garden growing friend and put her in the glade next to the waterfall, exactly where Dr. Carolina had found her. Mossy was finally home. And the next morning, the warm spring sun woke up Scoot from his bed underneath the leaves. He opened his ruby red eyes and saw Mossy, their year apart, vanished into the past. And at the museum, the portrait of Mossy continued to amaze visitors. What an extraordinary work of art and nature, they exclaimed. The world changed as the years went by and Tori grew up, but Mossy's portrait is there in Dr. Carolina's museum for all to see, not knowing that not far away on the misty, moisty edge of the lily pad pond, an old turtle still stands, and her name is Mossy. This is my favorite part. What do you see in the picture? Lots of little baby Mossies. And that's the end. So one of the things I really like about this story was that you can see the difference in time from the beginning to the end. And if I were to look at the story at the very beginning, you can see that in this story, how are they getting, or on this page, how are they getting around? They have horses and carriages, like times that we've talked about in the past. But at the end of the story, we can see now, look a little closer, how are people getting around now? That's right, there's cars, and it's a little bit different. So you can really see how times have changed. Okay. So what I would like for you to do, I'm going to post a few questions that you can talk about with mom and dad or brother and sister or whoever you want to listen to this story with. But again, I want you to talk about the problem and the solution and the characters and maybe make some of those connections. Maybe you've felt like Mossy before, or maybe you felt like Tori before. I made several connections in the story of when I used to go explore around some ponds and streams and different things that I found. So take some time and talk about this with your mom or dad or family or aunt or uncle, whoever it is. And again, send me your connections and some different things that you maybe learned or liked about the story. And stay tuned for our next story. Have a good one, guys.